Hi, welcome to Teach Star, and in today's video we're going to be looking at the fun of mystery. Now this is going to be a bit weird because I'm a massive advocate for routine. I love routine. I think students love routine. Anyone loves routine. Why? Because it tells you exactly where you're at, what you're going to do next. There's no surprises. You're not anxious, you're not agitated, because anything can happen at any time. So I love routine. Routine's amazing. As a teacher, you should have a very, very firm routine. Doesn't mean always do the same things, but it does mean have a structure in your lesson that anyone who comes in to your lesson kind of could guess what's coming next or guess how an activity is done, and there's a kind of flow to a nice routine. However, routines, the downside of routines, is they are kind of sometimes boring. You can be very well presented, blah blah blah, but I think you need, as a teacher, to spice things up every now and again, and maybe a little bit each lesson. So what do I mean by surprises and mysteries? Well, for instance, in your next lesson, maybe next week, get a big box and put wrapping paper around it. And put something inside it, relevant to the lesson or not at all relevant to the lesson, but put something inside it and just put it on your desk. And maybe say, if people ask you what is it, you say, oh, we're opening it at the end of the lesson. And all the way through that lesson, the mystery of what's in that box and all that excitement from that can be enough to make a really interesting lesson. And depending on what's in that box and depending on how it relates to the lesson, it could be something that you've seeded at the start, or that you think about throughout the lesson, or you refer to clues throughout the lesson of what's in the box. For instance, again, if you're doing a history lesson, it could be something relevant to history, a relic of the past. I observed a teacher who didn't wrap it up with wrapping paper, but brought a gas mask, a real First World War gas mask, and put it in a box. And they had to kind of guess what it was, and dropped hints throughout the lesson. And it was actually really exciting. It was an amazing thing, like just the size of it. And a student who won a competition throughout the lesson. Gathered the most points. I can't actually remember what it was the student did, but they did something to deserve it. Got to actually hold the gas mask. I don't think they could wear it, probably asbestos or something, but they got to hold a safe part of it and stuff. So that was really, really good. Mystery doesn't have to be tangible either. You can create a kind of sense of mystery in your lesson just with I don't know, like a game at the end of the lesson, and one that you're not going to tell them what it is, but you say, we're going to do a 5-minute game at the end of the lesson, and just the mystery of, that's a teacher who doesn't normally do that, and that'd be interesting. We're packing up 5 minutes early so we can get going with this game. Oh, fantastic! And there's other types of mystery as well. There's just things that maybe the students aren't expecting. For instance, I did a PowerPoint, and it was just a standard PowerPoint, and I made it as boring looking as possible, and I had the slides going, but it wasn't a PowerPoint, it was a video, and I'd spent a while setting it up, and then I walked on screen and just corrected a mistake I made on the board, and it was really silly, and it was way too much effort than it was worth, but for me to say, I've spelt that wrong, I'm just going to nip and just change that. And just everyone was engaged in that lesson. It didn't matter what the lesson was about, they were going to remember it, because it was exciting and it was different, and it was something that made them remember that element of the lesson. And I think that sometimes when you, like I do, push routine so much because it's so important, you've got to get that routine. But you've also got to, from time to time, break that routine in surprising ways. Surprises can also be just take them outside. Obviously arrange it and make sure that the school are okay and the department are okay with it. But just take them outside one day. And if you're doing sampling or something, get them to write down the colours of the cars or whatever it is that you want to do with them. But something surprising. Oh, I didn't think about that today. And there's some teachers who build their entire career around these surprises. I mean, when they look at a lesson, they don't think, oh, what PowerPoint am I going to have? Oh, am I going to have this and then this and then this? They think, all right, how can I absolutely amaze the students? And I've talked recently about just me being silent for a lesson and just not talking for the whole lesson. Again, that's a surprise, that's different, and it makes what you're teaching more memorable. I will say teachers who build their life, and I've met many around surprises, also are successful because they have a structure. It's not all just, right, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. Because I think if you rely too much on kind of surprises, and it becomes disorganised and becomes very difficult for students to follow. And every student gets an anxiety of, oh, hang on, I might not like the next thing. And I think your students are always happier when they kind of know what's coming as a rule. And so you need to have that underlying structure. But beyond that, I think surprises are a really, really good way of getting the most out of our students. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you want to see more from us, please click subscribe. We release videos every single weekday at 5 o'clock in the evening. Thank you.